Okay, so I'm here in Maya, and what I want to do is I want to show you how to normal map inside of Maya. Maya has a normal mapping tool that we can take advantage of for game development. Right, so let's open up an example scene here. I'm going to go to the 9 scene, 9 start. I'm going to open that up. So we're going to have this blocky looking object here. If I go to sub D mode here, you can see that it becomes nice and smooth. But this object is too high res to take into any game engine right now. So what I want to do is I want to take the details of it and place it on a low res object that is game friendly. So how can I do that? It's actually a lot simpler than you may think. I'm going to take this object, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the polygon tool set. I'm going to go to mesh. I'm going to go to smooth, and I'm going to go to the smooth face options over here, and I'm going to give this 4 divisions. That's going to make it extremely high res. But you can see it looks very smooth, very nice. But it's too high res. You can see here this is about, if you look at the triangle count, it's almost 1.5 million triangles, which is impractical to take into any game engine. Alright? So what I want to do is I want to create, let's go ahead and let's create a polygon object. So I'm going to go to polygon plane. And I'm going to go to the options here, and I'm going to set this to 1 subdivision. And I'm going to take the height and the width, and I'm going to increase that like this. So it's about the same shape or same size overall of the high-res object. Another important thing I want to make sure is that the low-res object takes up about the same general space as the high-res object. That's extremely important when you're normal mapping. If the low-res is up here, this isn't going to work. You're just not going to get the results that you're expecting or looking for. Right, so with that done, let me rename this guy. I'm going to call it low res. With this object selected, I'm going to go to the rendering menu set, and I'm going to go to lighting and shading. I'm going to open up the transfer maps window. Alright, because I had this object selected, the low res target mesh is already loaded up. As you can see here, I only got one UV set on this. If I go to source meshes, what I need to do is select the high res object and then click on add selected. That'll be the source mesh that we're extracting details from. If we go to output maps, what you want to do is select normal map. Alright, it's going to place it in the textures folder, and let me rename this. I'm going to call this panel Maya normal map. And I'm also going to switch the format here to JPEG. There's lots of different file formats you can choose. I'm going to leave this on tangent space. Leave these default options alone. When you go to connect output maps, you can tell it to connect the normal map directly to a new shader. It's going to do that all automatically for you. Let me take the high-res object here. Let me hide it. Let me take the low-res object here. What I want to do is I want to assign a new material to this. I'm going to assign a simple Fong material. That'll work out just fine. And I'm going to tell this to assign to the shader that I already have, the Fong material. Under the Maya Common Output, you can set the output sizes here. So for example, the map width and height. 256 is going to render really fast, but it's going to be low quality because it's a very small map. Under sampling quality, I like to set it to preview because that allows you to create a quick, test render and preview this thing out. I like leaving the filter size and Gaussian filter type at the default. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at 256. I'm going to go to mental ray common output. I'm going to leave this stuff alone. Advanced options. I'm going to leave this stuff on the default. Default works very, very well. Okay, so now that that stuff is done, I'm just going to hit bake. It's going to bake out. It's going to take a moment to get this done. Depending on your quality settings and the size of the map that you're baking, as well as the complexity of the objects that you're trying to normal map from, it may take a short amount of time or a long time to do this. So how can we preview the normal map here in the window? Let me move this out of the way. What you can do is go to the renderer here and go to viewport 2.0. Once I do that, I can see my normal map inside the view here. And what I also want to do is I want to go to create, and I want to create a light. Simple point light will suffice. I'm going to go 7 here so we can see lighting the viewport. And as you can see, when I move the light around in the viewport, we can see the normal map works with the lighting to create the object, make the object look more detailed than it actually is. Now, the normal map doesn't look too great. As you can see, it's not very clear. It's not very crisp or detailed. That's because we went with a 256 map. So what you want to do is go back to the Transfer Maps window and go to the My Common Output over here. Maybe do like a 1K or even a 2K map. This lets you go up to a 4K, which is pretty high. Let's go with a 1K. 1K I think is going to look pretty good. I'm going to switch over to maybe, well, you can go with low or medium quality settings. So let me go with medium. I think that's going to work out pretty good. So I'm going to hit bake. It's going to take a little bit longer to bake out this normal map simply because it's a bigger file size. It's 1K instead of 256. And also my sampling quality is medium instead of preview. Okay, so it took a good few minutes to get that done, but you can see that the results are well worth it compared to what we had before. You can see here that my light reacts as I move it around in viewport 2.0. The lighting and the normal map interact with each other in a very realistic manner. You can see here the normal map really makes a big difference, makes this object look really nice. It's very cool. Awesome tool here for using for extracting details from one mesh, putting it on the other. This object is just a simple polygon plane comprised of only about a couple of triangles. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video. In the next one, we'll start looking at pipeline integration with ZBrush.